Seekers, Joy Givers. It's Deb McGregor here with your winter series, Infusion of Joy. And you'll notice I have an amazing special guest with me. Please welcome Autumn Meyer of Sacred Beings to the show. Welcome, Autumn.
Hi, thank you. Oh, it's so exciting to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here. And of course, I'm drinking out of the mug that you gave me, the Joy mug. It's just so awesome. So, Autumn, we have so much to cover today, and I think we should start at the beginning. We talked a little bit in the intro to you of talking about the fact that you are a massage therapist. And I want to start with, I mean, you are obviously not 50 years old yet, and you knew at I'm going to say a fairly young age that massage therapy is something that you wanted to do. What drew you into becoming a massage therapist?
There are so many elements, even just as you were asking that question, just little things that were kind of the start to the big snowball rolling down the hill. And so I guess like the very start of the story comes when I was in school. So I went to a Catholic school, and so every morning we had our chapel time. And this has less to do with like the massage therapy aspect of it and more to do with like the spiritual healing aspect of it. But we were in prayer time and we were saying the Lord's Prayer, and I had warts on my inner arm on my right arm. And I thought in kindergarten that the Lord's Prayer was Our Father, a wart in heaven. And so as I was praying that prayer in my head and in my heart, I'm imagining that my warts are going to heaven, that these are being healed by the power of the Holy Spirit, which I didn't have those words at that time. I just felt and knew that that was the truth. And a couple weeks later, my mom had looked at my arm and caught a glimpse, and she was like, Autumn, your warts are gone. And Deb, I'm not kidding. We have had tried everything at this point. We had tried freezing them off, and it only made it worse. And we had tried so many different things, and nothing worked. And so she was so surprised when she saw it, and she was like, Autumn, what happened to your warts? Where did your warts go? And I was like, Mom, they went to heaven. And she was like, what do you mean? And so then I like described to her the whole story, and she to this day still loves to tell that story. So that was kind of like the very beginning of this process. And so then the next step would be, I would always give my mom foot rubs before she went to bed. And one night when we were talking, I asked her, I was like, Mom, does your foot hurt right here? And she was like, yeah, how did you know that? And I was like, because I can feel it on my foot. So there comes the empathic part of it, of the Lord giving me this gift to be able to understand the pain in other people's bodies. And then too, I just grew up in this family that totally understood healing as a whole and not just as suppressing a symptom. It was truly wellness that my family was seeking. And my grandpa, who actually just passed away over Christmas, was a huge navigation tool, for lack of a better way to describe it, in this like growing in my skills. So he did some natural medicine stuff and he did some body work stuff, but his basic thing that he really did a lot of was lymphatic drainage massage. So anytime when I was a little kid and I would get like a little cold, my mom would call my grandpa and he would come over with his big lymphatic kit. And he would work on me for half an hour or an hour or so, and we would just sit there and spend time together. And so just all the way growing up, it was like, it's been this like knitting together of this is where I'm supposed to be. And then in more recent years, like leading up to me actually becoming a massage therapist, I was super interested in anatomy in high school. I loved that class and just like the inner workings of the human body. And the other thing that I loved was essential oils. And I remember one day after school when I was going through some of my papers that I had some Young Living papers and a Young Living pamphlet. And then I had all of my anatomy papers and assignments from like the beginning of the year. And I stuck them all together in a pile. And I thought to myself, this is the start of something great. This is going to be the start of something great. And somehow my career will include both of these things, the anatomy portion of it and the natural medicine and essential oils part of it. And So going on, I graduated from high school and I took a little bit of time off from going to school because at that point I wasn't really sure what to do yet. So I worked for a little bit and just kind of enjoyed my time there. And luckily, I had a friend who was going to cosmetology school at Joseph's up in Grand Forks, and she knows me very well and knew me very well at the time. And she was like, you know, you've kind of been going back and forth as to what you want to do. And we talked a little bit about the massage therapy program, and we were in her car. And so that day, that afternoon, she drove me to Joseph's and she was like, you are going to meet with Mr. Josh and you're going to at least talk to him about the program. So she brought me in that day and we talked about the massage therapy program. And it seemed like the absolute perfect fit for me. And then from there on, the ball just kept rolling. And now, now I'm here.
Wow, I love that. Of course, I love Mr. Josh myself. We love him.
Oh, it's
Josh, hello if you're watching.
here.
So my gosh, there's just so much in this. First of all, I never heard the wart story, the father who, and I'd never heard that before. So that is amazing. Secondly, I love that you're pointing to this, also this intuitive sense. There are some people who just simply have this gift. And I know I've said this stuff to people before, like in prayer ministry, like all of a sudden a piece of my body will start hurting when I'm praying over somebody. And I know that piece of my body is just fine, but I feel like it's the Lord gives these little signals to just like a little attention here, a little attention here.
Yeah.
And when you experience that and you know how real it is, you know that you can't make this stuff up. Like this is real as real can get.
Yes.
And I think sometimes people can get a little afraid of it because it can feel a little woo-woo. And yet, once you've experienced it and worked with it and understand that it actually is one of the best gifts that a person can be given, it's in how you use it is just so amazing to help people heal. So I love that. So obviously you've got this going on in Grand Forks. Then did you actually end up doing massage work in Grand Forks? Because now you're in Fargo.
Yes. So I worked at Avant in Grand Forks for about 6 months, I think it wound up being. And then I had some family stuff come up. So then I stopped working there and took on a position at Rhapsody Spa and Salon, which just took up a little bit less of my time than my work at Avant. So I was able to get time off a little bit easier and spend time with family where I needed to. And then in February of 2019, so I worked at Rhapsody for about a year and a couple of months. And then in February 2019, I moved down to Fargo, and that's when I started Sacred Beings.
And this is your opportunity to open your own business. I mean, you own this business.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting the way that everything just kind of unfolded, but I didn't want to, in Grand Forks, just with all of the work that I had done for the spas there, feel like I was kind of stealing from them. So yeah, like you said, it was just the perfect opportunity to have the space where I didn't feel like a thief of clients. And if they wanted to come down to Fargo to see me, that's great. But it wasn't, I didn't have that feeling of I'm just kind of stealing. So it was the perfect space away and the perfect container too here in Fargo, as far as space goes and as far as clientele goes and just general need in the community. Yeah, it's been really great.
What was it like to set up your own like massage room for the first time where it's just yours? You own this. This is yours. You are doing this. Take us to that time.
At the very start, it was overwhelming. I wish that I could say that it wasn't, because now it's something completely different and it's like very fun. And every single day I'm adding new elements to make it better and make it more unique to myself and all the gifts and talents that I have and I'm offering to other people. But right away, it was really overwhelming. Starting a new business and from scratch too, in a completely new city where you don't know a ton of people. It was definitely overwhelming, and just making sure that you have the right equipment and the best equipment, but also trying to be budget friendly and just all of those elements of creating a business from scratch definitely started out overwhelming. But as time has gone on and as I grow more confident in the Lord and in myself and the gifts that He's given me, I get it's become easier to express myself in my business and in my online community and in putting together that space that I have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and having been to your space, it is, first of all, it's very beautiful, and it does represent you. Like, it feels like a sacred space. There is definitely, you've done that. Let's talk about creating a sacred space for massage work, because when people are coming in to have this work done, it's mental, it's physical, it's spiritual, like it's all of the above. What are the things that you do to create that sacred space for people?
First and foremost, prayer, because without that protection from the Lord and without his armor around that room and protecting that space and his armies of angels around that space, I I don't think any of the stuff or any of the things that I did in there would have as big of an impact as they do with having that spiritual protection, with having that physical protection, and with having just that beautiful pouring in of his love into that space. And I can tell too when I walk into the physical room when I haven't been praying circles is the way that I like to describe it, is praying circles around that place. I can tell when I haven't been as adamant about that. So that's kind of where it starts for me, is setting intention and praying circles around it and just knowing that it is not through any strength of my own, but all through the strength of the Lord that that protection and that blessing happens. Um, but as far as the physical space and creating that element of relaxation, for me, it's a lot about simplicity and just no more than you need in that space. That's something, like, so much thought goes into every little piece in my personal sacred massage space. Like even down to like the picture frame that the artwork goes into and like what the artwork is saying. I have this beautiful piece of art that I found online, and it's titled God's Fingerprint, and it's like a thumbprint, and in each line is one verse of the or one verse from every book of the Bible. And so every little thing and every little detail in that space has been so well thought out with intention, and it's not just wanting to put something in that space to have it there, but to know that it has an intention behind it.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like everything matters. Like, I
oh
think
yeah.
sometimes we forget that words matter, things matter,
Mhm.
actions matter.
Mhm.
And when we start getting so in tune with those things that we do every single day, we realize that nothing is by accident. And
Mm-mm.
everything just continues to really just to follow that sequencing.
Mhm.
And I know that one of the things you also talk about is the grounding of the soul.
Mm.
And obviously, that ties into creating the sacred space. So, what does it mean to ground the soul?
I think it means something a little bit different to everyone, and how we do it is so unique to each individual person. Um, and it's interesting, like as I look back on my life and over the years, like things that worked for me years ago to ground myself and to come to that space of connected action and not just reactive action, where I'm doing what I'm doing with intention. I'm not just doing it because that was like my initial reaction. That practice of moving into that space has changed over the years. Uh,
Hmm.
for me right now, prayer and devotion time has been a really big grounding action for me. Um, and then breath work is another big one too, which I caught a little bit of a cold this last week or so. And so I've been kind of having to work around that just because breathing hasn't been the easiest through the nose. So it's been interesting to have to find new practices to that ground, because like I said, in whatever phase of life you're in, whether it be because you can't breathe through your nose, or um, it's winter outside, so you can't get out and touch the grass and ground that way. So you're having to adapt new practices in every phase of weather and every phase in your life circumstances and your body circumstances and everything. Um, Yeah, so grounding in and of itself is coming from that connected place instead of that reactive place. And then the practice of grounding, it's finding what works for you to come into that space in the space in life that you're in. Yeah, I wish I could give like one solid thing that works every single
No,
time.
no, this is great because I think you're putting out some ideas. I mean, I was just thinking about, what do I do to ground every day? Well, one is obviously start in prayer and breathing in. We talked about the essential oils. I mean, I've got my diffuser going right
Mhm.
now, and I actually am in an interesting combination. I've got believe and joy. And
Oh,
for me, and it's interesting because for some people they put on the joy oil and it's just like they feel, like this. For me, it's very grounding. Joy is grounding to me. And it's fascinating what we make up about what does grounding look like, sound like, feel like.
Mhm.
And I love that you're bringing up the breathing thing because I've had a little sinus thing this week too. And it has also, like, I normally do these big, deep breathing things. And it's like, I can do it, but I feel like I go,
Yeah.
I
It's
got a little
work.
weirdness going on, right? And and yet I know that even in a modified format, it's taking the time to quiet the mind and really just, remove out those distractions. And the other thing, and I know you and I have talked about this before, is I love journaling to ground. For
Oh, yeah.
me, and I don't know what this is, but when I do it with a pencil, it's
Oh,
different than when I do it with there's something about, and I'm making up that there's something about the groundedness with wood. And
yeah.
there's that I think of a tree as being grounding and rooted. And so obviously with a pencil, we've got lead,
Mhm.
but we've got these, I think of a tree when I'm writing with a pencil, I guess. And there's something about, for me, the way that it just feels when I'm writing, the way that it sounds when I'm writing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody else has that also, but when I want creative or creativity, then I get the Sharpies out. But when I
Oh,
want the grounding and just that, I feel like I get the pencil out. So I don't know. What do you like to do, pencil, or is that just a me
interesting.
thing?
I'm a pen person just because I tend to write so hard with pencils that it like starts to make my hand cramp up. And so anything that just like glides really nice and smooth, especially after a day of massages, is better. But as you were saying that, like, yeah, it's interesting. I'll have to try it with a pencil and get out like a couple real wooden pencils, and maybe I have to go to the store to get that because I don't even know if I have any at home right now.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's something in that. I really do believe there's something in this.
yeah.
And I've even got a friend that he likes to practice also, like with his left hand. He's
Hmm.
right-handed, so he even finds that a different type of grounding emerges in that, and also the creativity. I believe there's actually a link to
Yeah.
groundedness and creativity.
Oh,
And of course, I
absolutely.
mean, we could make up there's links to everything. Which, speaking of links, I also want to make sure we don't step over gratitude,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
at your core you are all about gratitude and the way that gratitude flows in everything that you do. So
Hmm.
have you always known that gratitude was a thing, or did this just one day you're like, oh, this is my link here, it's this gratitude piece?
Interesting. That's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer to that. I don't really know. It's something that over the last couple of years, just as actual research has come out on it, and I can listen to podcasts that give these things, um, just like these bits of information about how your body functions when you're in a space of gratitude. Brene Brown is one of my favorite people to obtain some of that information from, just because she talks so greatly about it, and I love just like the words that she uses. But actually thinking about where in my heart and in my life that I noticed that gratitude really does make a shift is just last year I was mentoring with Bio Girls. I don't know if you've ever heard of
Yeah,
Bio Girls.
yeah.
Yeah, so I was mentoring with a small group of girls last year. And there was one week where our challenge for the week was there was a take home sheet of paper and it had 7 little lines on it. And each day, the goal was to write one thing that you're grateful for. And just that week was one of the best weeks that I had. And I like looked back and I was like, okay, why have I been feeling so good this week? Like, what changed? What was different? And it was that practice. And it's so interesting that we're talking about this now, because this week I've really been trying to integrate that practice in again. And when you start the day with thinking of things that you're truly grateful for, and it doesn't even have to be anything like super big and I don't know, expansive and colorful and however you want to describe it. Like this morning, I was grateful for my comfy. And if you don't know what a comfy is, it's like a big sweatshirt but made out of blanket material, and it's just like the coziest thing. So that was like my one thing that I thought of this morning that I was so grateful for. And I don't know, when you move from that place of gratitude, it is in that grounded action that you go forth into is yeah, into that grounded action. So like you said, they are so connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's this piece as you're talking about this is I believe that this place of gratitude actually shifts frequency. When we are in that place of gratitude, we literally, everything, we see it with a different lens. We see things with love. We see things with compassion, right? I believe that that place of gratitude actually can shift the way that we look. It shifts the way the lens it, right? Like it shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're looking through that lens of gratitude, it shifts the way that we see everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about even having gone through this pandemic time period. And if you talk to people who kept their resiliency high and kept moving and really kept that joy going, one of the biggest things that you hear them say is, well, I just found something every day to be grateful for. I was grateful that I had toilet paper. I was grateful that I could work from home and keep my job. I was grateful that restaurants developed takeout because my gosh, who wants to live without their favorite whatever dish, right, from the local restaurant? Um, and isn't it amazing how something that we may have taken for granted? I mean, when we had complete shutdowns, isn't it amazing how all of a sudden we got so grateful for something that we had been taking for granted?
Mm-hmm.
So
That's so true.
I think it can be super powerful. I just want to let you know, Pastor Moses is saying hello to us from Nakuru, Kenya.
Oh,
And
hi.
he's very blessed watching the program live from Nakuru. Blessings, peace, and joy. Thanks, Pastor Moses.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's amazing.
Pastor Moses and his team have actually been praying for, I have had this thing for like a week. They've actually been on a prayer chain trying for this wellness. So thank you, all the pastors, for your prayers. Really, this has been crazy. So, and, you know, I'm actually glad Pastor Moses kind of popped in here because, I mean, we want to talk about being grateful. Having done mission work, or I know in some of the service work that you've done, it takes, like, my perspective of what I'm grateful for changed completely after going to Kenya and working with Pastor Moses and his team. Because things that I just take for granted here that I just know that I can get like this, right? Like we really had to plan for, we had to allow time for.
Mm-hmm.
There just was so much more in that detail. So I do believe gratitude. I believe that frequency can shift everything. Can you imagine if we lived in a world that was so much more grateful?
Oh gosh, yeah. So much would change.
Yeah, it would be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people are probably like, well, how do we learn more about you? You've got this amazing couples massage event coming up. I
Yes.
saw that. I was like, okay, we got to talk about this. Let's get in the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, so okay, so it's kind of adapted since I first put out some information on it. At first I was going to do it as an in-person class, and I just didn't have a ton of reaction to it right away. And as I thought about it, I was like, you know, I don't know if like me and my partner would be interested in going to like a group class where like there's a ton of other people there and like we're all just massaging each other. So I was like, you know, like one another thing that we can be grateful for the pandemic for is all of this ability to share through whether it be Zoom or this platform and so many others. So I kind of adapted it and went in that direction, and the feedback that I got almost immediately was so exciting. And just like thinking about how intimate it is to perform massage on your partner, even if it is just the neck and shoulders, like that's a huge thing of intimacy, and not everybody is comfortable being intimate in a group of 10 different couples. So, yeah, I've kind of adapted to an online platform, which I'm so excited about because I think that it'll give people just that greater chance to connect in a true way to their partner without having that fear of, oh, am I doing it right? Or other people watching me do it? And like they just kind of have that space to figure things out for themselves. So yeah, I'm really excited and just to kind of see where that all goes as like we come together as couples in that space.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So when is this taking place?
It's Valentine's Day night, so I think it's at 7. Let me double check just because I
Yeah,
don't want to
so
give you
this
the
is
wrong
great.
time.
So anybody could do this anywhere. So even if
Yeah.
somebody in Texas or Michigan or where, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter. Anybody can do this. So it's a couple's experience. Where would they go for additional information on this?
I have some up on my Facebook page and on my Instagram. So it's just on my personal stuff right now. So just my name on Facebook and then my name and the number 18 on Instagram. That would be where you can find more information. And
So
then,
I'm going to type this in so it's Autumn Meyer 18,
yep,
correct?
and that's my Instagram handle.
Okay, let me get that on here. And then, okay, so I just put your Insta in there. And then where would they find you for your website?
Yeah. I actually have my website linked on my Instagram.
Okay, so when you go to Instagram, then they can find you.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
Sacred Beings is your business name.
Yes, and that is on Facebook. You can find that on Facebook too. And I will go today. Thank you for reminding me because I've been needing to do that. I will go today and make sure to link my website to my Facebook page too, because that
Okay,
might be a little bit
fantastic.
easier for some people.
Well, especially if somebody wants to take advantage of this Valentine's Day couples massage
Yeah.
class. And so people can get a chance to learn some different techniques. And I love that you bring up the word intimacy because I think the word intimacy gets really misunderstood.
Hmm.
And so you can actually create that connection and create that intimacy. And you teach people that of here's how you can create the sacred space and here's
Hmm.
how you can create that intimacy. It's not necessarily about sex.
Right. Right. I know. I feel like that's one huge misconception about intimacy is, like you said, it doesn't just have to go straight to the sex portion of it. Like there's so much, and not even like things that lead up to that, but just like like truly connecting and just being with, whether it be your romantic partner or even just like a friend or a parent, like you can connect intimately with more than just a romantic partner.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that is so important for people to understand
Mhm.
because unfortunately it's almost like we have the this one or this one, like it's these
Yes.
extremes. Oh my gosh, there's so much in the middle here that we
Mhm.
can choose to be looking at. So
Absolutely.
it's so important. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This
Yeah.
has been, we were talking before going live, like we have no idea where this conversation is going. We have some ideas, but I mean, my gosh, we've talked about grounding your soul. We've talked about gratitude. We've talked about couples massage. And so, yes, thank you. Oh, Pastor Moses says to say hi to you. And
Oh,
that you're an amazing speaker and he's very blessed and just says thank you for the amazing job. Thank you, Pastor
oh,
Moses,
that's so
for
sweet.
asking.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope someday you can come to Kenya and meet Pastor Moses.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, that would be incredible.
that would be so good. So I just want to say thank you so much for the great work that you're doing in the world. Thank you so much for showing people how to a lot more self-care, a lot
Mhm.
more grounding, a lot more gratitude, and for holding that sacred space for people. And I just have to tell you, I don't think I will ever look at a wart the same again. And I really don't think I will ever say the Lord's Prayer. Like the next time, I think I'm going to start like totally breaking down in laughter. And so thank you for that gift. That's just awesome.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So thank you, Autumn, and reminding you that you can get in touch with her on Instagram at Autumn Meyer 18, and you can also find her on Facebook, Sacred Beings. She does have her massage practice set up in Fargo, but she does do online events such as the couples one. So
Mhm.
connect with her, find out about how you might be able to benefit from this immense work that she's doing. And I know that people will be so blessed by you.
Thank you so much, Deb.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We want to remind you that next week we have got M Designs here. We've got Marina Zamzo joining us to talk all about decorating, decor. How do you fill a space? Oh my gosh, it's going to be an amazing conversation. They're always amazing conversations. Right? I mean, like, hello. So thanks again for tuning, everybody. We want to remind you to go out, live joy, and share joy. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.